Okay, the final of the Women's Euros is over. It's finished 2-1 to England after extra time. But because this game had goals in it and not a 0-0 draw, means every single game at this finals has had at least one goal in it. There's not been a single goalless game at this tournament. So I will be doing a video looking at goals per game average over the years in a variety of sports, including football. Not the best game of the tournament, I will say that. It was a very scrappy game. It was a very open game, but it was a scrappy game. There was a lot of fouls and a lot of yellow cards. The Germans went against their strengths a little bit. They were a bit cynical, and England responded in kind. So both sides weren't playing their natural game, which contributed to a goalless first half. Now, Germany had their chances. There was a few heart-in-the-mouth moments for the England defence, and England had their chances, and there were a few heart-in-the-mouth moments for the German defence. I was surprised about the number of fouls and the number of bookings in this game. But the first half, it was about 50-50. It was a very even first half, but a very scrappy first half. And it takes a little while into the second half for the first goal. And Germany were actually on top to begin the second half, which is not surprising because of their history in this competition. They've never lost a final in this competition until tonight. There's always a first for everything. But Germany didn't score first. It was England. England scored first from an Toone goal on 62 minutes. One long ball undoes the very high German line, which is something I did notice tonight. The Germans were defending far higher than England were. England were defending a little bit deeper, so therefore the offside trap is less likely to be used. Germany are clearly aware of England's pace in the wide areas and up front, so they're pushing a high line to try and catch them offside. There weren't a lot of offsides in this game, so clearly that tactic was a bit flawed. But Toone, the goalkeeper, leaves no choice but to do a lob at a chip. It's a brilliant finish. I think the goalkeeper rushes out a little bit too quickly off her line, but not given much choice with her centre-backs being so far forward and the wing-backs not being in the picture. There's only two defenders back. One long ball undoes the entire German defensive system. Now, unfortunately for England, Germany gained control of the second half again, and Lena Magul's goal is the best build-up play down there right, and it's a very, very good finish from a very, very tight angle from a very, very good player on 79 minutes. And then this is where you see Germany starting to dominate the game a little bit. England looked a bit tired at this stage, and you can see Germany's quality. There's a reason why Germany are the most dominant side in women's European football history, and pretty dominant in the World Cup as well. Their record in international football is scary, to say the least, but they're not ranked as highly as they used to be. They have declined a little bit in recent years. They're not the side that they were 10 years ago. There's a lot of young players in their squad, and game management. Both sides really struggle with that game management. England getting in front, Germany equalising, then Germany not taking their opportunities. They hit the post, and when it goes to 1-1 at the end of normal time, I think that's a fair 90 minutes. England had their moments on top, Germany had their moments on top, but Pop doesn't start the game and Beth Mead goes off early with a thigh injury, so the two top goal scorers in the tournament don't really have an impact on this game. Which is a little bit disappointing because they've both been brilliant. However, I will stress this, extra time comes. Germany, England, it's getting more and more open. Both sides are looking out on their feet at this point. They've really gone the 420 minutes here. The first half of extra time, still 1-1. It's still littered with fouls, bookings. The Germans were giving a lot of dissent towards the officials. They were getting clearly frustrated. England weren't falling into that trap of, allowing the Germans to frustrate them and lashing out. However, they were still giving as good as they got. But it's still 1-1 after the first period of extra time. And you're thinking there could be penalties here. And historically, England in both the men's and women's games, penalty shootouts are a nemesis. They've only won, I think, a handful between both the men's and women's teams. Nemesis. And of course, last year with the men's Euros final, England were in a similar position against Italy in the men's game. We'll go 1-0 up, don't manage the lead, game management's poor, and they end up losing that game on penalties. You're feeling this could go the same way. Chloe Kelly's goal comes, and this is defensive. I don't know what the defenders are doing in this place, and the goalkeeper makes a bit of a hash of the initial save. Poor rebound control. That's something that as a goalkeeping fan, you're constantly taught when you're training is your rebound control. push it away from the danger. Now, it's a scuffed shot from Chloe Kelly to begin with. It's not hit cleanly. If it's hit cleanly, I think the save would have been better and the ball would have bounced out somewhere else in the box. But the defenders around her make a complete and utter hash of trying to clear it, and she's allowed to have a second opportunity. Yes, it's the scrappiest goal out of the three. The first two goals are brilliant, but this final, I think, deserved to be won by a scrappy goal. And that was on 110 minutes. After that, Germany just, I think, imploded mentally. Their responses to every throw-in, every free kick, every stoppage in play, you could see that they're showing dissent, they're showing frustration. I'm surprised with the way dissent has been dealt with in this tournament with bookings. More German players weren't booked for some of their reactions to the touch judges, lineswomen, and some of their responses to the referee. They were showing a bit of dissent. I think the referee hadn't quite got control of the game, like flashing the card. Allowed a little bit too much to go early on in the game as the game wore on. Tackles that were being let go in the first half and partway through the second half are now being pulled up for free kicks. Cards going everywhere. There's a lot of bookings in this game. I actually lost count. But the Germans, I think, imploded mentally. And you can't say, oh, because Pop's not on the field, their captain and their top goal scorer's not on the field. No. They had a very solid side on the field. They lost their game management. After that goal, they barely get a sniff. England learnt the game management. They close it out. Now, Chloe Kelly obviously gets booked for a celebration, but it's the final. Not overly impacting the result. But I think a scrappy goal sums up this game. High energy, yes. Very entertaining because it was very, very open. But these two sides were not playing at their best. Possibly because it's a final. But you saw how England played in the semi-final against Sweden. That second half, they blew them off the field. England against Norway, for example, another game where they were just free-flowing. Germany, again, the second top scorers in the tournament with goals. They weren't at their best either. They didn't play their natural game. I don't think either side played their natural game. And that's possibly what Germany wanted, was to, use their experience with some of their experienced players to get inside the English players' heads, and it didn't work. They were a bit more cynical in their challenges and in their style of play, which I think was the wrong tactic. Play your natural game. If you play your natural game, the result should follow. In theory, anyway. Germany and England both didn't play their natural game as well as we know they can, but I think England, home advantage helps. And, hey, they've only conceded 2 goals in the tournament. Germany have only conceded 3 goals in the tournament. And that's another surprising thing, is both sides didn't concede in the group stages. Both sides only conceded 1 goal in the knockout stages prior to this game. And the 2 best defences and 2 best attacks weren't really on display today. The midfield battle was a grind. And the team that could sustain that grind the better wins out. I think England on performance just edged the final, but there were times where Germany were edging the final. It's all about momentum swings. But there we go. England have won the Women's Euros. So they did what the men couldn't do just over 12 months ago. They've done it now. And whether this England team now goes on to win World Cups and other Euros and maybe contributes towards an Olympic GB team, these players, this will be a key moment for them. Now, whether they can, again, as I say, go on and challenge, let's say, the US and the Canadian women's team at the next World Cup, because they're the 2 top teams right now, in my opinion, with how the Olympics and the World Cup went previously, they need to carry on this momentum. And Wiegmann is an unbeaten coach in this tournament. She hasn't lost a game in this tournament, which is scary. And the foundations of this win were found, with Mark Sampson. Admittedly, his exit wasn't great, and then Phil Neville. They actually laid the foundations for Wiegmann to take over and take this team to the next level. Her record with England and England's record under her is scary. I'm surprised they were ranked 11th in the world going into this tournament. Sweden were the second best team in the world going into this tournament. They beat them 4-0. So that's where we have to look at the rankings and argue, are they actually as a true reflection of women's football right now? Same with the men's rankings as well. Are they a true reflection of the women's game, or are they flawed? But there we go. England, deserved winners. Germany, deserved runners-up. The 2 best teams in the tournament. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.